in. All right, so let's talk about this week. This week, what we have due in geometry is the 903 Module 9 quiz. So that is what's due. Last week was 901, 902. And this week is the quiz due. So the 9.03 quiz. So there's only 4 questions this time in the quiz. All right, 1, 2, 3, 4. Yep, 4 questions on the quiz. And 2 of them are going to be basically from the second lesson, dealing with the shapes that are inscribed in a circle, like a 4-sided shape inside of a circle, telling what those angles equal. Some of them talk about the angles inside the shapes. Some of them talk about the angles and comparing to the arcs. So make sure you understand how that relates to the arc shapes that we talked about in the last video. Last week. If you need to review that before you take the quiz, please do. But if you've done those assignments and not struggled with those, you'll probably be fine for that part of the quiz. The other half of the quiz, 2 problems, 2 of the 4, deal with the constructions that were in lesson 2 also. So this quiz is pretty much all about lesson 2. So lesson 2 is your focus this week for this quiz. And we dealt with 2 different constructions here with circles in this unit. So I'm going to put up on my screen my compass. I drug the old compass out, dusted it off, put it back to work. It's been in the drawer for quite a while, right? And it's been September since we had those compasses out. But I have dusted it off and ready to put it to good work as we look at these circles. So then for some reason, I have lost the audio for a portion of this video. But you can see right here, we're making a triangle. Basically, we have 2 different constructions, and one is a circumscribed circle, and the other is an inscribed circle. So what we're doing is we're going to start with the circumscribed circle. So I just draw a random triangle. It could be any triangle. This one's almost an equilateral. I mean, it's longer on the bottom. It's almost an isosceles, but not quite. It's a little bit tilted off to the side. But what we're going to do is we're going to do the circumscribed circle, which means we need to find the circumcenter. So the circumcenter we have to find. And the way we do that is we are going to start by finding the perpendicular bisector. So that's why the lesson started off showing the perpendicular bisector reminder and how to do that as a video. We did perpendicular bisectors back in September, but we have not done them since then, since we put the compass away. So we're going to construct 2 different sides, the perpendicular bisector for 2 sides. So we're going to start with the bottom, and we have to open up the compass to farther than halfway, right? That's a pretty wide triangle I made right there. So we need to open up the compass to where it's farther than halfway, because the perpendicular bisector will be in the middle. It'll be halfway, so we need to be longer. So once we get it to a point that's longer, we're going to make a mark above and below the line. And then without changing the setting on the compass, keeping the exact same width, we're going to switch to the other corner and make 2 more. So that now allows us to get our ruler, and we're going to connect the intersection where these 2 marks, these 2 arcs that we need, 2 pairs of arcs made, where those intersect at, and we'll be able to connect those right there. So, it looks like I might have figured out that the sound's not
how
working.
about now? How about now? Does that fix it?
Yep.
Okay. So I have this triangle that I drew, just a random triangle, and we're going to do the circumscribed circle. Circumscribed circle. So the first thing I have to start with is the perpendicular bisectors. So this is all from lesson 2. And once from those points, I used larger than half, made 2 marks, keep the same setting. And then where those intersect, I can draw a line. And that is the perpendicular bisector, which means it's a 90-degree angle. And it cuts this exactly in half. Exactly in half. So I can pick either side and do another one. I'll just turn it and do this side. Doesn't matter which side I do, but I need 2 of them. So I'm going to make this a little closer together. It's not quite as long on this side. Okay, so I'm going to make a mark out here, make another mark over there. Same width, Switch over here. Okay, so now I want to connect these two marks. And the important thing is from there, the intersection right there. That is the circumcenter of our triangle, the circumcenter. And what that means by a circumcenter is that's going to be the center of our circumscribed circle. That's why they call it the circumcenter. So from that point, I'm going to use that point as my center of the circle. And I'm going to move this out to where it's from the center to one point in the triangle. Okay. And if I've done this accurately, I'm just going to spin my paper rather than spinning my compass. Trying not to move anything, but just my paper. Oh, that's not too bad. That's not too bad. That makes a perfect circle around the triangle that goes through the 3 points of the triangle. I was off maybe just a touch. You gotta make sure you don't move your compass and get it right in the center. But that's pretty good. That one turned out all right. This is a circumscribed circle, circumscribed on a triangle using the circumcenter right there. Circumcenter. So, kind of cool things we can do with our triangles and circles here. Let me go to the other. We're going to do an inscribed circle also. So we need another triangle. Let's make a different triangle. We'll make this triangle here, and we'll go way over here with it. And we'll come back. Oh, that was terrible. Well, I'll just make it longer on that end. How about that? My ruler moved on me. Okay, so we'll make it a little longer. Make this side a little longer. We'll fix it. We'll fix it. Okay, we have fixed it. All right. So there is a new triangle, just a random triangle. Doesn't matter. Any triangle will do. And this time we want to find the in-center for our inscribed circle. And the way we do that is we have to find the angle bisectors. The other one we did the perpendicular bisector of the sides. This time we want to cut the angle exactly in half. So to do that, we're going to bring this way down a lot shorter. Put it right on that point and then make two marks. All right. Or I could make a whole little arc if I want to on there. Now, without changing the setting, I'm going to go to these points. I'll make a mark there out in the middle. Go over to the other side with the same setting. Make a mark out in the middle. And that gives me a point that I can go from to the corner. And that is a perpendicular bisector. So this angle is exactly the same as that angle. Perpendicular bisector. I'm sorry, not perpendicular. Angle bisector. These are perpendicular. Angle bisector. All right. Again, we can choose either one of these other two angles. So let's do this one down here. All right. So we're going to do this angle down here. We're going to bisect it. So I'm going to make, again, 2 points. Point on there. I'll just make an arc all the way across. And then make a mark out in the middle of the triangle without changing the width. Switch to the other side. Another mark out in the middle of the triangle. And from this vertex, from this corner of the triangle, I want to go right through the middle of that. And again, I'm looking for the intersection of those 2 points. So this right here is what we call our in-center. That's the in-center right there. In-center. So now, for the in-center, determine the center, the straightest point to there. So from there, let's see, I need to come out to where I touch this in 2 points. All right, using that in center. And then using that same distance, I'm going to go to where those intersect. Mark 2 more points. Okay, so now when I connect that to the end center, sure I get that go as close as I can to exactly in the middle. That will make a perpendicular bisector on this side. That should be the shortest distance to that side. That should be 90 degrees and the closest. And that is the width I want to make my circle. So again, I've got to try to get this where I can turn the paper, because that's easier than turning my compass sometimes. So I'm going to put that point right in there. I'm going to close this in to be exactly that width. And if I've done this correctly, as I turn this, we'll make a circle that's close, off just a hair, but not much. Now we've made a circle that fits perfectly inside the triangle, and it touches it at 1 point there, 1 point there, and 1 point there. So it is a perfectly inscribed inside the triangle circle. It's really close. I was off just a hair maybe on the width, but it was pretty good. That was pretty good. So I have an inscribed circle and I have a circumscribed circle. So you just need to know how to do those two items, because it's going to ask you on the quiz. It'll do part of it to say, okay, they've done this and done this. It'll say, what's the next step? So, what's the next step? Remember, you got videos that show you how to do that too in lesson 2. So that's also useful to go back. But, maybe pulling your compass out, doing it yourself might help get those steps in your mind a little bit. Or you can just write down the steps, right? You could go to those videos. Let's see, I bet I can do that right now. I go to those videos and look at that. And, there's that text view. You can switch from the video view to the text view. So if I did that, does it show me all the steps right there? Constructed perpendicular bisector. There she is on constructed perpendicular bisector. If I show the text version, she tells you, it doesn't list it out step by step, but she says, from this vertex, I'm going to make arcs on either side and make arcs here and here. So it's not quite as useful going to the text version, but you can still watch the video and write down the steps yourself, just so you know what steps are next. Now I'm going to find the perpendicular bisector of one side, and I'm going to choose another side, and I'm going to use that point in there. That's the in center. That's the circumcenter for the perpendicular bisectors and those kind of things. So that way, the steps involved in that. But I'm going to stop presenting that. But that is half of the quiz right there, is those constructions. Those two constructions make up half the quiz. So if you know how to do those, and then from lesson 2, you know how to deal when you have a 4-sided shape inside there, the angles that's made in there, these two angles that are opposite of each other and the two angles are opposite each other, they all have to add up to 180. These add up to 180. These add up to 180. So use that to figure out how to answer the questions asked you on the angles. And then also know the arcs. If you have this arc up here is 80 degrees and you have from the other side an angle that touches that arc, that angle is going to be half of that 80 degrees. Where if it comes from the center, it's going to be the same. It's going to be 80 degrees. So remember those type of things. Study how the angles work with the arc measurements. And so that is it. We just have just the quiz this week, just one item. So if you're behind, man, what a great week, because there's only one new thing assigned this week. So you've got the opportunity to go back and get caught up on this. And that way you can feel a lot better when we hit May, because we're very close to May, right? Because we got this week, next week, and then we're in May. So once May gets here, wow, the semester is about over. And then we're in panic mode if we're behind a long ways. So let's get some things done. Get something turned in today. If your grade's over 70%, I'll go ahead and release you now. If it's under 70%, open up a tab. Get to work in that and get something turned in.